Welcome to the Transport for North Annual Conference here in Newcastle. And we're delighted to be joined for our podcast here by two of our Metro mayors, Andy Burnham and Jamie Driscoll, along with Councillor Louise Gittins, a leader of Cheshire West and Cheshire Council, as well as Vice Chairman of Transport for the North. Andy, can you start? What we want to talk about to start with is how Transport for the North brings different parts of the region together to speak with one voice.
Yeah, and that's one of the big reasons why I've always supported it, Graeme. As I came into my role, Steve Rotherham, Liverpool, Jamie then, and now Tracy and Oliver, I think what we've tried to do is give the north of England a stronger voice, working with Louise and all the other leaders as well. And I think Transport for the North is where that really comes together. It's the only statutory body for the north of England, and because of that, I think it's really important that we all support it and build it up. But I think something is changing in this country. The north of England is getting more organised. It is becoming more and more united. Its voice is getting louder and louder through Transport for the North, but also the Convention of the North. We are sending one clear message back down the M6, the West Coast Main Line, whichever way you want to look at it, to London to say, and Westminster particularly, to say, the days of treating us and the north of England as second-class citizens when it comes to transport are over. Now, when the response comes to to that call, to be debated, but I think it's not going away, and any government of any colour is going to eventually have to answer it.
Jamie, you represent the north of town, and you're hoping to represent a larger area of the northeast. Why is it important for every part of the north, as well as every part of the region, to get the investment that they need?
I remember a conversation I had with a school teacher. This is back in 2019, and this was up in Ashington, and she was saying that in September, the new school leavers, she sees them standing at the bus stop, waiting for the bus to get into Newcastle to go and do their courses, further their education. And there's about 20 of them. And she says, and she drives past that same bus stop in January, and there's 3 or 4 of them, because it's expensive, it's cold, and it's off-putting, and it takes ages. Now, whether that's Ashington or whether that's where Andy represents in the Northwest, whether Louise represents down in Cheshire, we all have a similar problem. That you look at London, and you've had the underground there for over 100 years, and it's subsidising and cross-subsidising their franchised bus network. And you can get around that city, and it's viable to not own a car. Your only investment is to get an Oyster card. You don't have to splash out on car, insurance, and everything else. So until we get that equivalent total transport network for not just the northeast, but across the north, then we're always going to find it difficult. It's always going to limit the life chances of our people. It's going to make it harder for us to lever in investment. But you know what? I'm convinced we can do it. I'm talking to people here today. They're up for it.
Louise, you represent an area that doesn't have a devolution deal, so you don't have a Metro mayor banging on Whitehall's door. How do you make sure areas like Cheshire get that same treatment and get your voice heard just as well?
So you have to shout very loudly. So we've been trying to get a devolution package since about 2016. But I think certainly for us, it's about collaboration and working with different areas. So we sit between Liverpool City region, Wales and Greater Manchester and Cheshire and Warrington. Certainly our relationship with Wales and the City region and Cheshire Warrington is really important. So we work very closely with Transport for Wales, who are currently developing a metro system, which is, as Jamie describes, you walk out your door, you get on the bus, it connects with the train or on your scooter or your bike, and it moves around the area. Similarly with Liverpool City region and their ambitions, we work very closely with them to see how we can link in, because for residents, they don't see borders. They just, every day they're travelling around. They don't think, oh, I'm going to go into another region or another country. They just do it. And I think national government needs to recognise that and give us all the powers that we all need to be able to fill that gap, because there is an unequal north in itself. So yes, we shout very loudly, but work in collaboration with other regions.
Great. I'm going to come back to you, Louise, but I'll open this up to everyone as well, this next question. But as vice chair of Transport for the North, why do you value it, and what do you think can deliver to help us build a more prosperous and fairer north?
I think we've all come together with a common vision. When I first joined, I was a bit sort of thinking, oh, how can I think about what's going on in the northeast when I'm worried about bus service in where I live? And actually, the power of coming together with that common vision and all speaking together, no matter what colour of politics we're from, we all speak together. And there was never more so than when around NPR, Northern Powerhouse Rail, when everyone from all the political spectrum, from businesses, came together and said, no, this is our ambition for the North. And it's that word ambition. We are all ambitious for our communities, and we believe there's a different way of doing things.
Yeah, Andy, can I come to you? That the North hasn't always spoken with one voice. We all support different football teams, and we have different tribal loyalties. Has Transport for the North been something to break that down, do you think?
I think so. If I look back on my 16 years in Parliament, I struggle to remember the times when MPs across the North came together to speak for the North. In fact, it didn't really happen because Parliament is organised on a party basis, not a place basis. But actually, if the MPs did work a bit more like that, I think the North would have had a stronger voice historically. I don't think Parliament does give the North actually a particularly strong voice. No criticism of the people in it. It's more, well, the Lords has few Northerners compared to people from, let's say, within the M25. But in the Commons, it's often the civil service line that the governing party is pushing through and rubber stamping it on the whip. And it means you can't really organise on a cross-party basis, on a place-based cross-party basis. The one time we did it as Greater Manchester was when Alistair Darling at the time put off expansion of the Metrolink to Oldham and Rochdale, and we did lobby as one cross-party on that, and we were successful. But I don't think we do that and have done that as a country. But that is changing, I think, with devolution. I want very much Louise and Cheshire West, or if you like, Cheshire and Warrington to get a devolution deal, because then we'll get stronger again. So I actually feel, in my kind of political career, over 20 years now in frontline politics, only now is something happening that I've always wanted to see, which is the North getting heard. We were on the headlines this morning. Tracy put out analysis of the services that are being cancelled across the North. Go back 10 years, that wouldn't have happened. We'd have had poor rail services, but the national media would have just not been able to kind of focus on it at all. Now we get in the headlines, which is progress. The next stage comes, we go to the front of the queue for investment. And as I said before, it's going to have to happen at one point, because we're not going away. We are speaking with one voice. And Transport for the North has played a really big role in that. Finally, as a new mayor in 2018, when we had that timetable meltdown, everybody will remember, we were not getting the attention from government. And it was actually TfN that stepped forward and started to sort of analyse the situation, put forward solutions. And in the end, obviously, Northern went under operator of last resort. And I would say has got better ever since.
I'm glad you mentioned the timetable meltdown. It felt to me that was the thing that broke down some of those Leeds, Manchester, Newcastle, Sunderland, because everywhere was awful.
Yes.
And has it started with transport, but then gone into other areas of public policy?
So. I don't know what Jamie thinks, but I think we owe you a debt of thanks as well, though, Graeme, because I think when the Northern newspapers started to come in behind us as well, that's where we become unstoppable, in my view, unanswerable. And I know from my experience in Whitehall, they really don't like it when we do that, because they know they're going to have to kind of give us a different answer to the one they wouldn't ordinarily have given us. So I just think we have to keep working like that. This year's Convention of the North in Manchester, I thought, was a breakthrough. We look more powerful, we look more united, positive. That's an important part. We can't always be whinging about everything. We've got lots of positives, haven't we? And I do feel the politics of the country are changing in our favour now, finally.
Great. I'm going to ask one more question, which I'll ask to all three, which is the theme of the conference is transform the North, which sounds great, but what does it mean? And I wonder if this is really reductive, but if there was one thing you could all do to transform the North, what would it be? I'll start with you, Jamie.
Well, the flippant answer is independence. But
Well, we'll follow you, Jamie. You lead us there.
not full independence.
New Jarrow March led by Jamie.
It has to be. Well, you know what it is? Just that you were talking about transport for the north. Why is it so strong? Is because it allows us to work together in parallel, not chained together. So Andy's leading the way on bus franchising. But there's other things where I've been pushing in about land value capture. And now everybody wants to do bus franchising and everybody's supporting land value capture. And there's other things that people are bringing in. So that's what we want to get to, is that strong northern identity that we do not need to go through Whitehall. And for me, that's some sort of Devo Max on fiscal devolution, where we get the money devolved, we decide how we're going to spend it. And with the powers like land value capture, we do that, we don't have to go and queue at the Treasury.
Louise,
yeah, I want to agree with Jamie. I think it's that devolution of power and funding to the north. So we've got loads of schemes in the pipeline. We can just crack on and do it. And, you know, shout out to Transport for the North. We've got a fantastic team, really talented, and we could just get on with it. And I think that's probably our biggest ask, I would say.
Great.
We've got some positive news on that front in that we're doing a negotiation with the government at the moment about a new devolution deal. And it's been constructive, to be honest, and fair. You know, I these days I don't do the point scoring thing. If we get the right hearing, you know, I will give credit where it's due, and I do give credit to the way that the government so far, anyway, it's not concluded yet, has handled it. And if it does come through in the way that we want, we would start to have a funding arrangement that is akin to Wales or Scotland. So, you know, a single budget. And that would be quite a big statement, I think, of how English devolution at the city region level is maturing. In terms of the transformation, and you know, I like this line they've got: transform the north. I think that's, you know, it's good that I think it's a very positive kind of call from TfN. I mean, it is just quickly the two things. One that Jamie touched on: we're bringing through the B network starting September, which is London-style integrated public transport. When the north gets that, our cities will go up a whole level, and they're great places to live anyway, but they'll be even better. And then, so make the cities themselves better, and then connect us all with Northern Powerhouse Rail. You know, we'd be unstoppable if they did that. And I just think we've got to keep arguing for that highest quality, most ambitious, west to east, modern high-speed railway line across the north, because that is the critical thing, in my view, that would transform us.
Yeah, and I think somebody said this earlier, but this isn't a begging bowl thing, is it? This is helping the whole country. If you make the north a better and more prosperous place, you make London a better place because it doesn't overheat so much.
Yeah.
We've got to get away from the Oliver Twist mentality, haven't we? Where we're going down, please, sir, can we have some more? Or if you want another metaphor, what we want is a fishing rod and not just be dependent on the fish.
Yeah. Great. I want to thank everyone for their time today. So we've had Metro Mayors Andy Burnham and Jamie Driscoll, and we've had Councillor Louise Gittins who are taking part in our podcast today. Great to hear more about the region, and we look forward to speaking to you all again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.